Hi and welcome to this reading. Today's reading, I am picking up on an energy of the wicked. Now, this particular energy can be some sort of temptation in your life, or it could actually be a person. I've been pulling through messages in regards to this reading for the past couple of days. They've been coming in thick and fast. Although this energy has sat dormant for quite some time, and I was being ushered to pull on it today. And look at that, my candle's gone out. Give me a second. There's a sense in the collective that what's wicked is trying to remain hidden. Let me light this candle. Look at that funny match. There's messages in everything. Third time's a charm. Let's see if it stays alight. Okay, so if you're new to my channel, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. A bit about me first. I'm an intuitive tarot reader. I pick up on energy prior to a reading. All of my readings are timeless. Whenever you stumble across this reading, you are meant to find it. If it resonates with you, please give it a like. If you haven't already, please subscribe. As I said, I pick up on energy. I get messages through downloads, through dreams, through other signs, symbols, and synchronicities that happen through my life, through my everyday journey. And what I would say to you, because I was just being called, let me just double check that I'm recording. We all get them. I get them, you get them. But it is the wicked. It is the devil energy within the collective that doesn't want you to hear them. Something is being masked, actually, and I'll come back to that in a minute once I pull through the messages that I was receiving. All of the decks that I use on my channel are my own designs because I'm also an illustrator. If you call to any of those, the links can be found in the description box. Any songs, movies, anything like that that I mention during the reading will also be found in the description box. If you're intuitively called to, click on one of those links. There might be more messages within the lyrics, within the background of a song, within what was happening with the band at the time. It could be a message for you in the album cover of a song. But there are hidden messages everywhere, and your guides, your angels, your ancestral spirit community is actually trying to deliver these messages to you to steer you out of the way of being wrapped up in what is collectively wicked at the moment. So first, I'm going to pull an angel and see who is walking with you at the moment, or who is walking with us collectively at the moment. 36, Menadel protects your employment and preserves your livelihood. So it could be something that's happening at work, or it could be something that's happening at home that's affecting something that's happening at work. That's the 10 of Pentacles. That card aligns with the 10 of Pentacles, which is Mercury in Virgo. Now, Mercury as a planet is the planet of communication, and Virgo is about your soul's journey. It's about going within to receive those messages about what is wicked around you, and how you can avert disaster. Let's pop that there. Let me get, I want that. This is my Divine Messages Oracle deck. Let's see. Okay, there we go. A lack of respect. Now, if you can see, I've got a beautiful rose quartz. I don't know what it's called. It's like a wind chime, but it doesn't have any sound on it. It's just beautiful crystals. Crystal chime, crystal chandelier that's just hanging in my window. I'm just going to move it along a little bit because I really do like that light. Rose quartz is the energy of love. Okay, so let me get started on these messages that I was receiving. I have quite a few. If you've watched my readings previously, you will know that many things in my life, many things in and around me, my name, number plates on my cars, lots and lots of things that I've got no control over, actually align with some fairly big stories, some fairly big prophetic messages that are in the Bible. Now, you don't have to be religious to watch this reading, but my guides over the past couple of months, actually probably longer than that, give me messages that align with stories within biblical text and also align with things that are happening currently in the collective. Now, this reading will be housed in a playlist called The Wheel Within a Wheel, because what I've found in my research over the past 18 months, 2 years, is that the tiny wheel that is your individual life falls within the bigger wheel that is your family, the bigger wheel that is your workplace, the bigger wheel that is within your cultural setting, your religious setting, the bigger wheel that is within your country, and then the bigger global wheel. And depending on what's happening in and around, if one wheel turns one way, sometimes it turns your wheel back the other way. It's this huge, big, kind of massive, big cogs within a wheel, moving, 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 moving. Wheels within wheels. Currently, we are in the Pluto and Aquarius transit, which is a 20-year transit. And Pluto goes into Aquarius every 250 years. It takes that long for Pluto to get around the zodiac. Huge revolutionary change. But in order for that change to happen, you have to be aware of what's wicked in your life so that you can step away from it and move your wheel in another direction. So the messages that I was getting, I keep hearing Ezekiel. Now, Ezekiel forms part of a message that's on the number plate of my son's car. Now, I'm not going to give you his number plate, but it aligns with Ezekiel 338. And I'd been pulling through this energy before, but as I've done the readings over the last week, more messages have come out that layer in to this Ezekiel message. So Ezekiel was a prophet. And I'm going to read you, as I said, 338. I'm going to read you 337 and then 338. Ezekiel 337. Now, as for you, son of man, I have appointed you as the watchman. Now, the watchman has come out in multiple readings over the past couple of days. Now, as for you, son of man, I have appointed you as the watchman for the house of Israel. So you will have a message from my mouth and give them a warning from me. Ezekiel 338. And this is the number plate on the car. This is a government issued number plate. Not something I've got control over or he had control over. Ezekiel 338. When I say to the wicked, you wicked person, you will surely, I'm going to spell it D-I-E, otherwise YouTube will flag me. You wicked person, you will surely, and you do not speak out to dissuade them from their ways. The wicked person will, for their sins, and I will hold you accountable for their blood. So Ezekiel was tasked to be the watchman. He was tasked to warn the particular people at the time of the impending danger. Now, whether that was spiritual or physical, we've got work here. It could be within a family, within a workplace. It could be within an environment. It could be however it aligns with you. This story comes through as a template for things that are happening on a collective level. Ezekiel's role was urgent, and it was to get them to repent and change their ways. Now, Ezekiel 38:19, a great earthquake in the land of Israel. So if somebody's not going to change what they are doing, they are essentially breaking spiritual law, because Ezekiel was sent as a prophet to say, hey, what you're doing is wrong. I'm getting a message from the man upstairs. I'm getting a message from the man upstairs. What you're doing is wrong. And if you don't change your ways, there's going to be some sort of judgment. Look at this beautiful sunlight. It's illumination. Give me a second. Now, he was laughed at. Tried to silence him. Because, of course, what they were doing was of benefit to them. Lack of respect. Benefit to them, but not to anybody else. Whilst I was doing the pre-shuffle for this reading, I was hearing the song, or the lyrics to the song, "They paved paradise and put up a parking lot." And it reminds me of a press conference that I watched yesterday where a current sitting president of a country was talking about a particular piece of land being prime real estate, even though lack of respect there are tens and thousands of people still buried under the rubble. Big Yellow Taxi is that song. They paved paradise and put up a parking lot. The other song that I got was I Won't Back Down, which is Tom Petty, Full Moon Fever. Now, we're about to go into the Libra full moon. Libra is about balance. It's about divine balance. It's about divine justice. And the final song that I got, which is not really a song that I know, it's an Australian song, but I had to do a bit of research into it. It's called Women in Uniform, and it's by an Australian band, an older Australian band called the Skyhooks. From the album Guilty Until Proven Insane. And what the song is about is, it talks about all of these soldiers that are being, I want to say the word love bombed. They're battle weary, and they're sitting in hospitals, and they're being cared for by these, very misogynistic, by these women in uniform who are caring for them, and obviously, and I'm trying to think of the word, distracted. They're being distracted. A bit like here, this is the Ten of Pentacles. It's a bit like if Ezekiel is the watchman and the wicked. If you've come to realize, for example, if we're looking at the Ten of Pentacles in the workplace, if you've come to realize that something that you deem is your Ten of Pentacles, there's an underlying wickedness within it, and you approach your boss and you say, hey, I'm working 20-hour days. I'm not seeing my family, as an example. And your boss turns around and says, oh, you know what? We're going to give you a pay rise. And so they offer you, another $100,000. It's almost like a sweetener so that they can continue on. Lack of respect, abusing your time and effort. The president of that country, we're going to make that particular area of land beautiful. It's going to be great. It's a sweetener. Women in uniform, a soldier battle weary, lying in bed all wounded and busted up. But if you put a pretty girl in front of them in a uniform, they forget it's the devil. So you will have a message from my mouth and give them a warning from me. When I say to the wicked, you wicked person. Now, what I found interesting when I was looking up that song, Women in Uniform, it was actually recorded by the Skyhooks first, and then it was recorded by Iron Maiden, which is obviously a more well-known band. But when Iron Maiden was recording it, they were tampering with the song's mix to get a single. They wanted it to be a hit. And so when the Skyhooks found out, they vowed never to allow anyone outside to mess around with their music. Something from the outside is trying to tamper with your thought process, to lure you into a false sense of a better deal, to disguise the wickedness that's going on underneath the surface. Now, that song is one of only 5 songs that Iron Maiden used a feature called Fade Out. That song, Women in Uniform, Stranger in a Strange Land. These are the names of the songs. Stranger in a Strange Land, The Prophecy, which is from the album The Seventh Son of the Seventh Son. 7/7 references. Hell on Earth, Kill Me, C'est Soi. And the B-side of that song, Women in Uniform, that Iron Maiden did, the song is called Invasion. Interesting, right? The other thing that happened this morning was when I started this reading, it was 7:25. So this 7/7, the angel and the devil, the truth and the lie, God and the wicked, lack of respect. How is somebody pulling the wool over your eyes in order to get what they want? What illusions are being put in front of you so that you don't realize the wickedness underneath? And as I said, it could be a person, but it could be something in your life. Like, for example, for me, the wicked is a bag of lollies. Something that you can't resist. Looks too good to resist, but it's wicked. And it's happening collectively at the moment, on a small scale, individually in your life, but bigger and bigger and bigger. It's happening across the board. And judgment is coming because essentially those Ezekiel prophecies end up with, as I said, Ezekiel 38:19, a great earthquake. And I don't know whether you heard it, but my washing machine just finished. The end, this is the end of a cycle. We're at the end. We're at essentially Judgment Day. Now, I use Gematria and Strong's Concordance as an additional tool to help me pull in more layers within this message. Now, the Gematria calculator, all letters have a numeric value. So you'll find the calculator in the description box. If you put in a word or a phrase and hit calculate, it'll come up with a number. It will then give you a list of all the other words that have that same alphanumeric number. So for you could put in a bag of lollies. You could put in, the name of your boss, the name of your partner, a sibling that you're fighting with. Something like that you can put in, and it then will bring up all of the different words that have the same alphanumeric meaning. It is a bit like, and there's hidden messages within it. It's a bit like when you put in a word into the thesaurus. That word always trips me up. When you put in a word into a thesaurus, it will bring up all the other words that mean the same thing. This is all the other words that alphanumerically are the same. You can also take that number and you can put it into what's called Strong's Concordance, which is a chronological index of all the words in any biblical text, Old and New Testament. And oftentimes, that number, which aligns with the word that you've put in, will bring up a passage in biblical text that has another hidden meaning. Not all the time, but a lot of the time it does. And you just kind of go, oh! Messages hidden within that are meant to help you step away from whatever wicked this is. Recognize it and remove it. So the first thing I put in was Ezekiel. Ezekiel has a number 554. It aligns with the word announcement. That's what he was. I have appointed you as the watchman. So you will have a message from my mouth. Ezekiel aligns with announcement. Long lost sibling, foot soldiers, and God of thunder. It also aligns with the number 438 or 73. Children, paradise, Nineveh, bluebird, and flying. Now there are pages and pages and pages. If you wanted to put that in and see if there's anything else that resonates with you, then please by all means do that. In Strong's Concordance, it aligns with the colour red, to put off or spoil, Alon, a city in Palestine, and flower or to blossom. Hear that bird? Now, my eye's been drawn to that word Nineveh. Nineveh, I did in a reading yesterday. It was about Jonah and the whale. Jonah was told by God to go and tell the people of Nineveh to repent because of their wicked ways. Again, this wicked word. Because of their wicked ways. And he chose to ignore what he was being told to do, and he ended up in the belly of a whale. It's subtle, subtle messages that are coming through to you. Bluebird and flying. Now, the other word that I looked up was watchman. 1083. Wisdom and wombat. 2 W words. W aligns with Cassiopeia. There might be something in that. Wisdom and wombat. What information are you being given? And the wombat. Now that's an Australian animal. And he sleeps through the day and comes out at nighttime. And it reminds me of a couple of weeks ago, there was an American girl who came to Australia and stole a baby wombat from a mother to put it on TikTok. And this mother wombat was literally running after, screeching. Anyway, she got deported. And then was up in arms, obviously. I think in a tweet or a post that she wrote, she said, "Enough already, I'm sorry. Why don't you just get over it?" It's almost like a dismissal. When you bring something wicked to somebody's attention, when you bring something wicked to somebody's attention, you're being dismissed. Interesting. In Strong's, it aligns with dissident and nativity or birth. The other number is 498. Germany, Violet, Cinderella, Joan of Arc, and author. And in Strong's, it aligns with God is defensive and to oppose or resist. Interesting. Okay, let's pull some cards. I want to get some more information on this. Whatever this wicked thing is in your life that you, now something's tried to come out and gone back in, that you are trying to, Ace of Cups, that you are trying to, actually, you know what? Let's put that up there. And we did have birds in there. Bluebird flying, paradise. In this particular deck, the two individuals in this deck actually walk away from something that's wicked in their life. And I've got that, I see the light. That's from Tangled. Something's got you tangled. Tangled in a world of illusion. I was thinking too this morning, when I was preparing for this reading, how are we in a society? How does it happen? How are we in a society where people, university students in countries around the globe, are being arrested for protesting about women and children being slaughtered? Because what you are actually doing by suppressing that freedom of speech is you are sending a message out to the younger generation that the indiscriminate slaughter of a people is acceptable. It's almost like the devil's got the microphone at the moment, and anybody who tries to speak up and resist is squashed, is removed. Protects your employment and preserves your livelihood. Because if you do get up and say something, like those kids, they get deported. That's their livelihood. They're there to study. And then on the flip side, you've got somebody who steals a baby wombat and gets deported. And so they should. But on the other side, the angel and the devil, you've got people that are, the message that you're sending, like and my kids are very, very, and anybody in Generation Z, 1995 through to 2012. So 15-year-olds to 30-year-olds is this generation of, they're the ones standing up. They're the ones that will challenge a boss in a workplace. They're the ones that are free because they're not chained to the devil. And again, we've got a card flipping back in. Interesting. Oh, 7 of Cups. That's about choices. That's about temptation. That is literally about, are you going to be, if you see something wicked and you say something about it, and my voice is closing up. If you see something wicked and you say something about it, are you going to be tempted by the devil to be silenced? Some of those students in America, and I don't know what happens there, but surely now the message that is sent to any other student, international student, is that if you want to come here and study, you can't have a voice about an injustice that's going on in the world. Interesting. And how have people, and again, I'm using the global, like if you look at, say, Keir Starmer, who's the Prime Minister of England, he is a humanitarian lawyer. How does that happen? When was he tempted by the devil to ignore the wicked things that are happening? When was he silenced by the devil? What's happening in the 3D? The 10 of Cups. I just heard the word blackmail, but blackmail doesn't necessarily, it can be emotional blackmail. They paved paradise and put up a parking lot. The Ten of Cups is Mars in Pisces. It's emotional blackmail. The Two of Wands. What's happening in the soul? Now, the cards in this deck are all upright. I like them upright. They're never upside down. That's reverse. The sun has come out in reverse. You have your soul. This is your soul. Your soul has been illuminated to something wicked. And the devil has suppressed it. Because if you were to bring it to light, some sort of emotional blackmail here. Wow. Just going back and looking at announcement, long lost sibling, foot soldiers, God of thunder, children paradise, Nineveh, bluebird flying, to blossom. You've been to put off, to spoil, dissident, wisdom, wombat. Ezekiel is tasked to be the watchman, to warn them of impending danger. I'm not saying here that it's your responsibility to sort this out, because in that Ezekiel is about God bringing judgment, the God of thunder. Pave paradise and put up the parking lot. The God of thunder. Children, Ezekiel 4:38, children paradise. Nineveh, bluebird flying. This morning, the first thing that popped up in my feed on Instagram. And if you kind of go, why is this woman always talking about this stuff? Well, because it's my channel, I can talk about what I want. But if you rely on mainstream media to know what's happening in the Middle East, you are getting a very skewed perception of, it's basically what somebody wants you to see. It's what the devil wants you to see. They don't want you to know the wickedness that's going on there. A young boy that was arrested at the age of 12 has been released. He's been years in prison, in solitary confinement, was released to his mother today. And they carved, and I'm going to say the word again, they carved the Star of David into the top of his skull. You imagine his skull, the top of his head, if you're looking down on it, is that big. It's not a tiny, tiny one. It is literally, they carved the Star of David into his head. A boy who was imprisoned at 12. I'll link them in the description box. Eye on Palestine, Middle East eye. And be warned, the stuff in there is horrendous. And they don't want people to see it. Those sites have been shadow banned on Instagram, meaning that their reach has been lowered, because the devil doesn't want you to know the wickedness that's going on. You may have been, if this is about work, you may have had some sort of gag order put on you. You're not allowed to speak about this. Otherwise, it will affect. You're not allowed to speak about this. The sun. Your soul knows what's going on, but you can't talk about it. The sun in reverse. Yeah, the Two of Swords. The moon in Libra. You're not allowed to talk about it. The message from the man upstairs. Reminds me of the Ace of Pentacles, a new beginning. The Ace of Pentacles is the slowest moving ace. Takes a long, 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 long time. This could have been happening over a long time. On the flip side, God's been watching for a long time and is now about to bring judgment. The aces are a new beginning, but they're solid and stable, new beginning, based on the wickedness that is now coming to the surface. It reminds me of, and I saw it months ago, one of the former wives of the current sitting president. And there's a story about her being dragged by the hair across the apartment. But she was paid out a lot of money and she's got a gag order. She sold her soul to the devil so that things that were happening wouldn't be brought to light. If you look at a lot of I think 80 or 90% of politicians in many countries, but predominantly in one specific country, their campaigns are funded by organizations that perpetuate keeping things suppressed. Interesting. There's something going on here. I don't know why this has relevance, but it just popped into my head. It's almost like if you crash the work car, but it's part of your salary that you have that work car, but you crash it and something is hidden about it, or some sort of white lie is told so it doesn't affect the insurance or something like that. There's deception in here. Yeah, interesting. Wow, 2 aces. I just said that's God bringing fire. The Ace of Wands. That's Aaron's rod. Aaron's rod was the staff that was used. It's actually the staff that was put in the Ark of the Covenant. It's about the Promised Land. When Moses and Aaron walked those people who were trapped with the devil, walked those people out of slavery into the Promised Land. It's on the bottom. The Hierophant, that's God. That's Ezekiel 38:19. A great earthquake in the land. And in that instance, right, the waters parted, they walked through, and then when Pharaoh and the soldiers came after them, the waters came in. The wicked. Okay. I'm scared. This is the 7 of Cups. That's too many. The 7 of Cups is about being tempted. It's 7 different cups with all different options in it, and you're being tempted to take the cup that suppresses what's going on. You're being tempted to take the cup that the devil is offering you. The 9 of Pentacles. That's my Mother Mary card. That's Venus and Virgo. And the 3 of Swords. Let me just sit with that for a second. Okay, I know what that is. Okay. Mother Mary is pure innocent. Because we have emotional blackmail here. Somebody's coming at you in almost a way. It's deceptive. Obviously, the devil is deceptive, but it's banking on some sort of fear that you have in order to keep you stuck in the illusion. And again, this was coming through. I was thinking about this today. I was watching another. There's all these people moving to Australia from America, from England, and it was a young mother, and she brought her young family over here with her husband, and she was talking about how the things that living in Australia has made her realise about the things that she dislikes about America. But it wasn't until she got here that she actually realised that a lot of things that were hidden and having this big impact on her life and the life of her family were actually having a greater effect than she first thought. And so she was saying basically that where she lived in America, as soon as she walked out the door in the morning, she said, I basically spend my life scanning, because she said obviously everybody, not everybody, but most people carry some sort of weapon, women, men. drops her kids off at daycare and at school in the morning, and it's literally locked down. You can't go in or out. There are certain areas in the school. Now, I wasn't aware of this, certain areas within the school that you can't go any further back in, and it's essentially to keep kids safe, because obviously school shootings are horrendous there. Now, in Australia, back in the 80s, we had a mass shooting in Tasmania, and mass, I think 20 or 30 people. In comparison, probably not mass. But from that moment, the government banned all personal firearms. We don't have any in Australia at all. And if you have one, well, obviously some people have them illegally, but if you have one, it has to be registered and it has to be locked in a safe, and locked in a safe whereby the ammunition is locked in one safe and the rifle is locked in another. They can't be put in together. And it's all registered and recorded, and essentially it's farmers who have them. But this woman couldn't believe that she could literally walk her kid all the way into school. She could sit in the classroom for a little bit of time, do story time with the kids, and then walk out. And she said it felt really weird. And she said, I was constantly looking over my shoulder until I realized that this was just normal. And she was recognizing that the ongoing hidden PTSD and trauma that came from constantly living in a country where you are in fight or flight, worried about danger at any given second, and that applies to many countries in the world, what that was actually doing mentally to your mind, but physically to your body. And she was so happy now that now she was in Australia, she was going to be bringing up these children who wouldn't have to deal with that. But it's that whole, how did that country get to that point? And if you go back to this workplace here, you know, in the original card, hey, I'm not happy with how things are happening within the workspace, or we'll just suppress you by giving you a pay rise. And then everybody starts to get, you know, and then all of a sudden, nobody can talk about the underlying issue. And so the devil wins. And in the long term, collectively, what wickedness are we actually suppressing, and how is it going to affect the future generations? And I can say from a personal level, I have children that, I mean, they're grown now, but that had anaphylactic allergies. Now, kids with anaphylaxis live in fight or flight. Their bodies, their immune systems live in fight or flight 24/7. Mentally, they live in fight or flight 24/7, because the things that can literally take their life in an instant are things that are found in the everyday. And I had a professor tell me years ago that children with anaphylaxis actually have more stress. It's scientifically proven that they have more stress than children with cancer. And it's because they live with their mortality on a daily basis, every single second of the day. And for my child, now, she outgrew her allergies, she outgrew that anaphylaxis, but her immune system is now compromised, and she has subsequently been diagnosed with a neurological disorder that is a result of 20 years of having her immune system in flight or fight. What wickedness is being suppressed and being paid off, lured? That young boy with the Star of David carved into his head. The thousands and thousands and thousands of children being held without charge in prisons in Israel. And you can even take it back to the PTSD, the generational trauma that's been passed from survivors of the Holocaust onto their children and grandchildren. And we did have Watchman, 498, Germany. And if we don't go in, and I think of that that reading I did yesterday about Jonah and the whale, that 3 days in the belly of the whale, if we actually don't go in and have a look at what is going on underneath the surface and actually bring it to light, if we don't go, and my dog, if we don't go in and address it, if we keep covering it up and smoothing it over and bribing people with a bit more money to stay at work a little longer, to stay in an unhealthy situation a little longer, then what are you actually doing? And I'm going to pull it out. This guy, when the body says no, the cost of hidden stress. This guy, Gabor Mate, is the son. I think he was born, actually. He's Jewish. He was born in I think he was born in a concentration camp. But he talks, and specifically about women, but he talks about the hidden stress. Because if you suppress it and suppress it and suppress it, it eventually comes out. And the amount of people through his research that, I'll list that book in the description, the amount of people through his research that are presenting with autoimmune disease. And this autoimmune is when your body is in fight or flight for so long, it literally, your immune system just collapses. It can't go anymore. The cost of hidden stress, the cost of emotional manipulation, the cost of a lack of respect. The Queen of Pentacles. I just heard you may feel when somebody tries to pay you off so that you don't recognize the wickedness that's happening, you may feel like you've won. Yeah, I got a pay rise. Yeah, I got this. Yeah, I got that. But what did you actually get? What did you set yourself up for? The end. That's the Death card. Depending on where you are in this journey, you could also read this as, I'm making a decision to bring things to light. I'm going to claim my independence and end this dynamic because I've recognized in my soul that it's having an effect on me. And I want a new beginning. Let's have a look at the sun. Full moon fever. I won't back down. I won't back down. The Seven of Pentacles. Where are you going to plant your seeds? That's the Seven of Pentacles. Where are you going to plant your seeds? What is your promised land? The Ace of Pentacles. What is your promised land? And does it involve being there with the wicked? Okay. It's too many cards, but they come out for a reason. That one's hidden. The Page of Pentacles is the card of the student. The Page of Wands is the explorer. The Six of Pentacles is finding balance. That is doing something for yourself. That is also setting it in the 3D, because the Six of Pentacles is about equal give and take, and recognizing that something that is being offered to you is actually feeding some, I want to say PTSD, feeding some sort of PTSD that's being smoothed over by whatever is being offered to you in the 3D. Spiritually, it's taken away from you. The Page of Wands, the Page of Pentacles, the student, and the Wheel of Fortune. Are you going to let your wheel continue to spin backwards, or are you going to spin it forwards? have a look what's under here. The Empress, what are you going to nurture? Very, very cool. Very cool cards. What are you going to nurture? The Devil or your soul? The Ace of Pentacles. This is the Promised Land, but whose Promised Land is it? The Ace of Pentacles on the Ace of Pentacles. You've got, this is the message from the man upstairs. You've got God backing you up. If you choose to take the path of Ezekiel and actually highlight the wicked, take the Strength and highlight the wicked. The Knight of Cups, which is the moon in Scorpio. Scorpio is death and rebirth, and that's the Strength card, which is Leo. It's also the Sun. Saying no to somebody else's promised land. They paved paradise and put up a parking lot. Whatever's happening here is affecting you on a soul level. And the Ace of Wands, which is the outcome. So interesting that that card came out, because this weekend is Passover, which is also Palm Sunday. But Passover is when basically Moses had gone to Pharaoh, all the plagues had come through. He'd gone to Pharaoh and he basically said, you need to allow our people out. We need to be released from your wicked ways. And so God told him to tell the people to slaughter a lamb and then paint the lamb's blood over the doorways, which is Passover. And what then happened was God came through and took the firstborn son of anybody that didn't have the lamb's blood over the door. That's this weekend. And that allowed them to then leave. Aaron's rod then parted the sea and they made their way to the Promised Land. They walked away from the wicked. Five of Pentacles. They walked away from the wicked. They left it all behind. Mercury and Taurus. And on the bottom, the Queen of Cups. Whatever this situation is for you, that is a card about intuition. The Queen of Cups is also nurturing yourself. So you've got the Empress and the Queen of Cups. The Empress in your soul, nurturing yourself. I got that. Should I stay or should I go? Should I stay or should I go now? It's time to go. It's time to go. The outcome. This is Major Arcana. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the message from the man upstairs, and this is the outcome. 4 Major Arcana. Which is not things that you can control. It's things that happen to you. Okay. Lighthouse. Guided. Spiritual connection. Release control, perfectly blind. Some things are meant to be hidden. That's just giving the wicked and a fall from grace. This here, sometimes it comes out the other way, but in this instance, it's about somebody saying to you, somebody wicked saying to you, oh, no, it'll be fine, it'll be fine. Let me just give you a bit of extra money. Or just heard covering up. Like smoke and mirrors, covering up what's going on. But you're tapping into your intuition. You know what's going on. Full moon in Capricorn, get ready. The finish line of a tough ride is in sight. This is my Nodes of Destiny deck. Now, currently the North Node is in Pisces. Spiritual awakening. We are in a massive spiritual awakening. South Node in Virgo. The South Node is actually in Virgo at the moment. South Node in Virgo is all work and no play, thanks to Mercury's labor vibes. This something to do with workplace here. It's like thinking that earning is safer than receiving, believing you can't accept gifts, and that trust is a rare gem. It's where we cozy up spiritually, but to sprout, we must bid farewell to these old ways. Maybe the move that you are making is putting you in a position where you don't feel, Ace of Pentacles, where you don't feel secure and stable. Maybe the emotional blackmail that this person is saying to you is, if you leave, if you change jobs, if you change careers, if you walk away from a spouse, if you walk away from a friendship group, this is what you're going to lose. The devil feeds into your fear, and that's how they keep you trapped. You're never going to get what I'm offering you if you go somewhere else. South Node in Aries. Born with your South Node in Aries, flying solo feels like second nature to you. Past lives molded you into a lone wolf with a rebellious streak, but in this life, it's all about weaving those cosmic connections. It's like a universal sweet spot where magic happens. Okay. I get the impression here that you know that you can do it alone, but whoever this is emotionally blackmailing you is making you think that you can't. What that card is saying is that when you break free, you spin your wheels, and then you actually connect with other people who are spinning their wheels forward, who are moving forward. And if you stay here, you're going to get trapped in that Ezekiel 38:19, a great earthquake in the land. You're going to get trapped in what God's about to pull down, because judgment is coming. You know, like I said, that lady moved her whole family here and didn't realize until she got here the rot that she had been living in, the life that she had been living in, the things that had just been normal to her in terms of the anxiety and stress. It's a bit like if you live in the city, like you live in the middle of the city, and you just get so used to the noise. And then you go and buy yourself a farm and you're like, I can't believe how quiet it is. It's that kind of thing. Okay, I'm going to get you some Scrabble tiles. Letters and numbers in here are, let's just see what comes out. Does make a little bit of noise. If you've got hearing sensitivity, just turn your volume down. I'm going to shake it in 3, 2, 1. Oh, that's not a lot. That's obviously what we need. So we have a V and a 4, a B and a 3, a P and a 3, an X. Now that's upside down. That's the end. The beginning and the end. An X and an 8 is at the beginning or the end. I'm going to turn it upside down. I'm going to turn it the right way up, sorry. A D and a 2, an L and a 1, an N, the end of the line, an N and a 1, and an M and a 3. The M3 is the major highway where I live. There's movement. Okay, 3 final cards, and then I am going to leave you be. One, Page of Swords. That's a Sun in Gemini. No, I'm going to shuffle again. It's too many. The Nine of Wands. Just heard somebody's coming in fast to try and stop you from making a decision. 6 of Wands and the Wheel of Fortune and the 10 of Swords. I think you've made your decision. I think you've made your decision and you're out of there. 9 of Wands. Wounded warrior, you're out of there. The Ace of Wands, yeah. You're after a new beginning. You've seen the wickedness and you are after a new beginning. Enough is enough. This is the end of a cycle. Victory after a long battle. You're out of there. I just heard you've come face to face with the devil and you didn't like what you saw. Good for you. Okay, That's where I'm going to leave it. As I said, those songs will be linked in the description box. Also, my cards in there. If this reading resonated with you, please give it a like. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Thank you again for joining me, and I will see you again in another reading.